All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Conscience of Kansas radio program. My name is Paul A. Ibbetson. We'd like to thank all the folks listening to us online via the internet at www.ibbetsonusa.com and through www.wildcat919.com. They listen to the Listen Live button, and they're hooked up now. Our website at www.wildcat919. We're going through some retooling and getting things all redone, and so it's a little different. But you still find that Listen Live button up at the front, and you're still hooked up when you go there. So check it out if you're interested. It's going to be very interesting. Now we're going to go to our next guest, ladies and gentlemen. Our next guest is Jonathan Wells. Wells received his 2 PhDs, one in molecular and cell biology from the University of California at Berkeley, and one in religious studies from Yale University. He has done postdoctoral research at the University of California at Berkeley. Berkeley has taught biology at California State in Hayward. Dr. Wells is the author of several books, including The Politically Incorrect Guide to Darwinism and Intelligent Design, as well as The Icons of Evolution. He is a fellow at the Center for Science and Culture. Jonathan Wells would like to welcome you to the Conscience of Kansas radio program.
It's a pleasure to be here, Paul.
Well, you know, you touch on a very interesting subject, looking at Darwinism versus intelligent design. Could you kind of lay out a little bit of some of the differences and what you're doing with your research and work?
Sure. Well, that's a very good place to start. First of all, Darwinism. We often hear that the problem is about evolution, but evolution is actually a very vague term. It can just mean change over time, which, as far as I know, nobody disagrees with.
Right.
But Darwinism specifically means the idea that all living things are descended from a common ancestor and fashioned by unguided natural processes such as survival of the fittest and random mutations. Darwinism is the problem, not evolution in general. And as for intelligent design, it's often misunderstood too. Some people confuse it with creationism,
yes,
or natural theology, which tries to infer God's attributes from creation. All intelligent design says is that it's possible to infer from evidence in nature that some features of the world are better explained by an intelligent cause than by unguided processes. That doesn't mean all features are explainable that way. You know, you can still have laws and, natural laws and chance occurrences, but the point of intelligent design is that some things are better explained by intelligence. And if there's anything like that in the world, in living things in particular, then Darwinism is finished.
Yes, absolutely. Darwinism would be accurate to call it an atheistic policy, a thought theory. When you're talking about creationism versus intelligent design, now it's a big subject to try to wrap your mind around. And when you say intelligent design, does that not infer an intelligent designer?
Well, if you have design, then logically you have a designer.
It would seem so.
But intelligent design by itself does not get you from there to God, say the God of the Bible. To get to the God of the Bible, you need the Bible.
Right.
And other revelation and theology and scriptures and so on. So the evidence of nature leaves us with good evidence that there is a designer. But then it's up to us to go and find out who that designer is.
And I suppose the reason why, the problem when anyone talks about intelligent design or an intelligent designer, that immediately Darwinists would say, well, you're a heretic, you're a fire worshiper. And it seems to me what you're trying to do here, in part, is to use your scientific background to use and look at testable hypothesis and work through an explanation that would have credence, or at least some credence within the scientific world. Is that accurate?
Yes, that's at least part of what I'm doing. I have studied Darwinism at length and in depth, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And I've studied the evidence for it. Actually, there's a lot of evidence against it. In fact, the more we learn, the more evidence there is against it. But I've concluded, along with many other people, that Darwinism is not actually empirical science, but an atheistic philosophy masquerading as empirical science. It's sort of the creation myth of our secular age.
And I believe in your book, The Politically Incorrect Guide to Darwinism and Intelligent Design. And folks, you can find these books all linked at our master website of Superior Conservative Values at www.ibbetsonusa.com. We're going to give you some individual links as we go to some of the book sites that are set up for these wonderful books. But it appears to me, Jonathan, that there have been groups like the ACLU, and you touch on this in your book, The Politically Incorrect Guide, that have made it their cause to not only in the beginning champion the idea that Darwinism should be allowed to be taught in schools or part of the public debate, but also now fighting that nothing else should be able to be in the public square. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Well, you've touched on something very ironic. Back in 1925, the ACLU defended a teacher who wanted to teach Darwinian ideas and was prohibited by a state law from doing that. Now things have completely flipped, and the ACLU, as you say, is trying to make sure that nobody can teach anything but Darwinism. So it's no longer an issue of free speech, and it's an issue of mandating what is basically an atheistic doctrine.
Yeah, and for me, when I look at the ACLU doing that, I am not particularly shocked.
No, neither am I.
My opinion on the ACLU is they're one of the most dangerous organizations we have in this country.